why are people leaving powerlifting in this country?
From my point of view, it's
What is going on, guys? Welcome to Strength Talk Sunday. I know it's been a while since recording. Maybe it's been like 3 weeks, but today I got a good friend with me, Amir. How you doing?
good.
It's been a while since we've seen each other too, because of the whole lockdown thing. But yeah, today we're gonna be going through quite a few topics. Some of them have been like your recommendations from my story yesterday, and some of them I came up with myself. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's get into the first topic of, we all just got out of this whole lockdown thing here in Brunei. So post-lockdown training, what to do? And Amir is coached by the one and only Ajos Krr at Ajos Krr on Instagram. So what have you been doing for like getting back into training after, because you haven't been training consistently since lockdown?
Yeah. So after lockdown, I just told Ajos like, hey, I want to train. Let's get back into it. Let's get back into the groove. But we've been training for like 3 times a week. I mean, this is the first week after lockdown, anyways.
Yeah.
So I just came off my third day of training this morning, and it was such a painful experience.
So you're not really like, you're kind of easing into it, but your intensity is kind of up there?
Well, when you're under Ajos, the training intensity is always gonna be there, even though you just got off lockdown and not training consistently. And on my first day I did squats. After a top single of 120 was fine. Then I did 4x7 at 107.5 kilos. So my first 2 sets were fine. They move fast. Then my third set, I was like, oh my god, it's too heavy.
So
it's too heavy.
Clearly, like, your work capacity isn't back up there yet.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I need probably maybe 2 to 3 weeks to get my work capacity back up.
Okay, so there we go.
Yeah.
So adding on to that, like, one of my athletes, Mickey, you know Mickey.
Yeah,
so
Mickey.
like, he hasn't been training the main movements since lockdown started, and this is his first week back. So what we're doing with him is we're easing him back into it. So he's back to training 4 times a week, but we're not gonna have the intensity like super high. We're not gonna hit any 8s or 9s. I've given him, if I pull up the program here, which I could do, but I'm kind of too lazy to do it.
Yeah, but
Like,
he never
it's
hits
6,
8
7.
He never hits 8 or 9.
yes,
during
he
training.
does. He has in training. You just don't see it. Like during peaking, that's when you'll see him hit most of the 8s, 9s.
That's it. Everything else is just a 6.
But yeah, but like for me, like if I'm programming for my athletes who haven't been training for 3 months, that's wild. You're basically detrained at that point. So I would ease them into it, get back into your normal frequency, but I wouldn't have like RP8s, RP9s. I would have them maybe doing a 3x5 for that first week of RP6 to 7s. And along with that, I wouldn't be doing like main lifts very often unless you're specifically a powerlifter, because like you have that kind of mental connection to numbers. So, if you give them a variation, like if someone in competition squats low bar and that's what their training is revolved around, I would probably give them like high bar, so they don't have as much of a numerical connection with the numbers they have on high bar, and because of that they're less likely to kind of overshoot or anything.
Yeah, speaking about numbers, that's what probably made me not be consistent training at home. I rented out a barbell and plates from
Yeah.
673. It was totaling about 80 kilos or so. And the fact that I couldn't go up in weight was boring me, and it was depressing. So I just stopped working out.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So like even though you had equipment, just because you couldn't go up, you have that mental connection to numbers, right?
Yeah,
So you
exactly.
decide not to do it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of it's a very all in or nothing kind of mindset.
Yes.
You don't have that mid range of, oh, this is all the weight that I have to work with, so I'll adjust my training around that. You want to be hitting your normal numbers, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So like, it really depends on a coach, and if you're training if you're in charge of your own training, I would recommend, vary your training and ease into it. Don't go straight into your 8s and 9s as far as your RPE goes, and just kind of be able to call the right audibles and don't put yourself at a risk of injury that early in your training, But yeah, as for you, your coach Ajus, he knows how to program for you, so I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah.
And I've worked with Ajus as well. I know what his training style is like, and I will agree. It the intensity is there. It's there, but he is a very trustworthy coach.
And to add on, for your mental health reasons, like, do not think that after lockdown you can hit the same numbers again.
Facts.
Don't let yourself down because of, I did 160 kilos single for an RP 8 back then. I should be able to do it now. But then once you reach like 120 or so, you're struggling. Don't be frustrated that you're weak. Just keep working towards.
Yeah, because you're gonna be detrained after not training for I would say like maybe 2 weeks after that. Like if you're not training for 2 weeks, you're gonna be slightly detrained. But the fact that it's been 3 months since a lot of us have been training consistently, you're definitely gonna be very detrained. Maybe not in terms of numbers, but definitely work capacity. Because Mickey went into the gym and his deadlift single at an RP 6 to 7 was like 200. So he didn't lose much strength, but when we moved on to those working sets, that's when he really felt a difference.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah, let's go into the next topic, which is a lot of us are gonna be looking at going back to the gym, and I feel like the last lockdown, a lot of us made a mistake of going to the wrong gym, especially with prosthetics base and everything closing, which was a very sad thing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of powerlifters, we didn't know where to go.
Definitely.
So let's get into choosing the right gym. What would you say are factors to kind of consider when you're picking a gym as a powerlifter here in Brunei?
First and foremost, it's space to your lifts, because you're using a barbell. That's not exactly the smallest thing in the world, is it? So yeah, space, and maybe the people around you and their mentality of how it is when you're lifting big weights. Some people will be like, what is wrong with this guy lifting all this weight? They're all bodybuilders here in Brunei, so you can't help it. So you have to pick the right gym.
Okay, so what about equipment though? Like, I would take equipment into consideration very much, because you go to somewhere like no shitting on lockdown, but lockdown, like, you don't know how much that bar weighs.
Definitely.
So for me, when you look at equipment, I would look at how much does a bar weigh, and I would look at the rack, because I know rack heights at certain gyms, they can be very in between. I know at lockdown, like, you have problems with the rack height. It's either too low or too high for the settings, and it would be the same for me because we have about the same rack height. And even where else, like at 673, their rack height, one is too low for me and the other one is too high. So you see me using the squat stand, so I use that to squat. And I feel like for the big boys, if they're hitting big weights, we're talking like 5 plates or more, Mickey has a problem with actually loading the plates on the bar, because once he gets to his top single, he can't load any more weight. He can't go over 220 when he's at 673. So I would take the plates into consideration if you're one of the more heavy hitters. For like us, our top sets are 180 to 195 at RP8s. So it's no problem for if you're like us, but if you're gonna be hitting 200 plus, then take the bar space into consideration as well.
But on that, there's technically not any right gym right now in Brunei.
Yeah, not in Brunei.
For powerlifting, because you're strong. You're probably going to be strong anyways. So you need those comp plates to fit on the bar.
Exactly. But, for some people it's no problem. Like, we have friends who have home gyms with competition equipment. I wanted to add something else as well just now, but I can't remember what. Oh, yeah. Adding on to your point, because we don't have a powerlifting specific gym in Brunei, but I would say 673 is a solid choice.
Definitely.
Because 673 just has a good vibe overall. That's what I feel, at least. And like the people are very chill, and equipment wise we're all good if you're, again, someone like us, because the bar, I feel like it doesn't have too much whip if you're using the Ohio bar, because I know 673 Jurudong has 4 Ohio bars, 4 or 5,
6.
oh, okay, so 673 has 6 Ohio bars apparently, and they don't bend too much, so if you're an IPF lifter, I guess that's a good thing. And they also have the one boneyard bar, so if you want to have a bit more whip, then the boneyard is a pretty good option there. And along with that, you train the dynamic, so let's go into like why you're training there.
Mostly because I'm trying to bulk up. Keyword is trying. Trying to bulk up to about 66 kilos, move up a weight class, get stronger. So I want to incorporate more bodybuilding movements, which 673 sadly doesn't really provide that, because they're mainly a CrossFit gym.
Yeah.
So they don't have machines and all that, and I want to get a good pump, So yeah, that's why I chose that dynamic.
Fair enough. So I noticed, like, after the first lockdown last year, we started going to
a gym.
Yeah, we started going to a gym which was very filled with teenagers. Like, we're talking, I want to say like 14 to 17-year-olds.
Yeah.
Would you say so? Yeah.
They would come in groups of like 6 or 7.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like one group of teenagers. There was a lot of groups of 6, 7 people, and I noticed they were trying, like, it's a good thing they're learning the big 3 squat, bench, deadlift, but I noticed with a younger mindset like them, and of course I've been in that position, I don't know about you.
Definitely.
Like, when I first started at like 15, I was very experienced, and I would want to try to put as much weight on the bar as possible. So now we're going into like inexperienced teens with bad technique, and kind of very, I guess you could say, ugly, to be straightforward, very ugly technique. So I feel like that all comes down to them having a big ego. But of course, like, I have been guilty of this myself, as a fucking 15, 16-year-old. So like, what would you say they need to understand at that age when you're lifting?
The most important thing for me is to get under a program, because without having a solid program like to follow, you're just fucking around doing whatever you think is good for you, and then so your importance of form and progressing in weight just goes out the window, and just doing whatever suits your ego. Yeah.
No, for me it would always be like, whenever I get someone completely new, especially a teenager, so let's say someone like Owen, who didn't have the best technique when I first brought him in, but understanding that younger mindset, because I was in that position, I kind of drilled into him like, good technique goes a long way. And once you get that drilled in, because I saw the potential that he had, like, even when he wasn't powerlifting, he was pretty strong. It was just like a matter of getting the technique drilled in and properly programming for him, and being able to stay in the pocket, and being able to just throw your ego out the window.
For a manlet, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So so like, once I brought him in, I sat him down and we had a talk at the gym that he was training at. So we had a very long, maybe like 20-30 minute talk outside the gym, just trying to drill in a new mindset. And I sent him a bunch of these videos of being able to stay in the pocket from Joey Flex, and I feel like long term that helped him out, because when he recently competed at FitFest, his total now qualifies for USAPL Raw Nats, and that's wild. The fact that he's only been in powerlifting for 7 months, I feel like those are crazy numbers, and I'm happy to be working with someone like that, someone who's very young but can grasp a more mature mindset when it comes to training. But like, what about you when you were younger? Like, I know you started what, 17, 18?
I started lifting in general when I was 19. I started late.
Oh shit. I thought it was earlier.
I started late. I was skinny as shit, man. Like
I remember
I'm
those
skinny
days.
now, but like
we're still skinny.
yeah, but I was skinnier. Like this is my side profile when I was 19.
Wait, but what about like fuck, what was I gonna say? What about, you know, when you first started, like at base, like how much did you weigh?
I weighed at 48 kilos.
Yeah, there you go. So like I feel like that's something else that teens need to kind of drill in. Don't always think about the weight. You should always think about your own body proportions, and you should look at gaining weight, because that's a mistake that I made when I was younger, where I was so set on being, oh, I want to be this weight and be super strong at this weight so I can freak people out or whatever.
Yeah.
Like they think I'm skinny, but I'm actually super strong.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's the wrong mindset, and people should make the most out of, you know, the muscle mass that they can gain. Because even for me, recently my coach has me, she set out new macros for me, and she's getting me to, like, you go up to the 66 class, and right now I'm sitting at 62, so I could compete at 66, but I wouldn't have to worry about cutting or anything. But I want to fill out the weight class, you know, over time. So I feel like a lot of teenagers need to understand, fill out your frame.
Yeah, but also teenagers they don't exactly have big egos, but they're probably just insecure. Insecure
Yeah,
at the gym.
I can see where
So
you're coming from.
they
Yeah.
would be like they would be trying to keep up with the big boys, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
Trying to look like you're strong, trying to freak out the big boys.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
even me, when I was like, I started with Tropical Barbell.
Yeah.
And they were all like big guys, all doing like conjugate, and they were hitting fucking big ass numbers, and I was this new 15-year-old kid who didn't know anything, and I wanted to keep up with them. So I think that's a mistake that I made. I didn't go at my own pace, and even with that, I wasn't very strong either. I mean, I guess my deadlifts went up pretty fast, but I think deadlifts can progress fast without, you know, a super high frequency. Like someone like Joey Flex, who deadlifts once in a blue moon in his training.
Yeah.
Like,
I
and
just
yeah, like Ajos as well. Ajos trains deadlifts like what?
never.
I mean,
never?
when I was still working at, you know, my previous job, he was deadlifting once a week.
Yeah.
And
but ever since he doesn't go to the gym anymore,
yeah,
He
ever
doesn't
since
deadlift.
we left, he just doesn't deadlift, and I think he deadlifted 310 recently,
he
if I'm not
just-
mistaken.
he just does static holds. You know how scary static holds are?
God damn.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's all for this topic of, you know, teens and everything. Let's get into, like, this is one of the recommendations from my story yesterday. Someone asked what the epitome of strength is. So do you think, so if you were to judge, you know, just strength overall, what would it be? Would you go into strongman, powerlifting, CrossFit, weightlifting? Like, what do you think people should judge just solely strength based off of, like, those sports?
You see, like, the word strength, it's a very subjective word. It has a broad meaning to it. So, let's say strongman. It's strength that you can apply in the real world applications most of the time. Powerlifting, it's like strength is in these 3 big lifts. CrossFit, I don't know about CrossFit, so I'm not speaking about that. But weightlifting, when you see them, they're strong because of the technique they employ, the amount of drilling that they do on a daily basis. So for me, the epitome of strength, it's hard to gauge, but I would lean towards strongmen because of how big they are, how big they look, and how strong they can be. Not necessarily squatting or benching to the same weight as powerlifters, but you know, powerlifters, they only train those 3 big movements. Strongmen, there's Atlas, stones,
Like farmers carries.
yeah. So I'd rather have real world application strength than powerlifting strength, even though I'm a powerlifter. Yeah.
Okay, so that's where I would say powerlifting would be the epitome of strength, because when you say strength, I would think how much weight can you lift, you know, in one go. And maybe, like, of course there's a bias because I myself compete in powerlifting. And you know, when I look at weightlifting, I think of athleticism. Like, you need so much coordination, you need a lot of speed, and you know, the technique plays a big role in weightlifting, because obviously I trained weightlifting for
Yeah.
a very short period last year, and I didn't get very far, you know, and I think my technique was okay. It wasn't the best. It wasn't the best, but like it was hard. A lot of it was down to technique. Like if I was missing a weight, it was usually not a strength problem, because like I can deadlift 200, but
You haven't.
there's
You haven't.
I haven't. It's like I've only touched 200 in training at this point. Like I've never deadlifted it in competition. But like I can deadlift that, but there's no way that I'm gonna be able to clean that, because at that point so much technique goes into it that I actually have to, you know, think about my extension, think about when I actually catch the bar.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a difficult thing, because there's so much timing that goes into weightlifting. So I wouldn't say weightlifting is just strength. There's a lot of technique that goes into it, and you need to be an athletic person to be able to, you know, get in those positions, at least like get into those positions well. Because I feel like if your mobility shit, good luck with weightlifting, man.
Yeah, I can't. I tried. I can't. My arms are too long, anyways.
Yeah,
so.
and then like for, you know, CrossFit's argument, I feel like there's a lot more cardio that goes into that.
Yeah, it's not strength. It's, you know how like when they have the CrossFit Games, people are titled as the world's fittest, not strongest. It's
Yeah,
fittest.
it's always fittest.
Yeah.
And I would say like I'm not saying CrossFitters are weak. They're definitely strong CrossFitters, like Ridwan.
Oh yeah.
I would say he's really strong.
Yeah.
I think the dude pulls 230 at 66, 67 kilos.
With a strap belt.
Yeah, with a strap belt. He's not even using like our bulky SBD
Yeah.
belts. And then I would say the same thing for strongman. There's that factor of cardiovascular fitness as well that goes into it, because I know they do like those log presses for AMRAPs and shit like that.
Yes.
So I think when it comes down to strength, just strength, I would say powerlifting is the closest thing. This, like, yes, it's only squat, bench, deadlift, but you know, if you look at there's some powerlifting, or is it like strong lifting federations that take out bench and substitute it for
Overhead press.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say powerlifting for the epitome of strength. But yeah, let's wrap up on that. So you say you'd still stick with strongman?
It depends.
It kind of depends on the context of, you know, like,
When I see strong, they're strong. There's not really.
yeah, strongmen are strong, like no shit.
Like when people are strong, they're strong. I'm not gonna categorize them as powerlifters, strongmen, or whatever.
Yeah.
When I see strength, it's strength. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, because even who holds the deadlift world record right now, like the overall deadlift?
Thor.
Yeah, Halfthor
Yeah.
Bjornsson. He's a strongman, and he deadlifted what, 501?
Yeah, 501.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say powerlifter. I wouldn't say strongmen aren't strong, because it's literally in the name of the sport. But yeah, I guess that's gonna wrap up that topic, and now we'll go into another recommendation from my story, which is beltless training, overrated or underrated.
I don't see much use out of it, because I'm a powerlifter. Having a belt is like a part of your lifts anyways, and it's an aid to making sure that you have intra-abdominal pressure, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it keeps you stable, making your trunk to go wider, right? I think.
No, it's you get a tighter core, so there's no kind of loose end in your system when you're
Yeah,
lifting.
so you're
Yeah.
expanding your trunk into the belt.
Yeah, you're expanding your trunk into the belt. You're not expanding your trunk just
Yeah,
like
so there's a
for the
stimulus
sake of
there.
expanding.
So there's like a signal from the belt signaling that, yeah, you've filled in the belt, time to lift.
yeah, breathe,
Yeah.
brace.
So without a belt, I just feel very fragile.
Really? I wouldn't say I feel fragile, but I feel like a lot of people have this argument of, you know, oh, I want to increase my beltless lifts, so then my belted lifts are going to go up as well.
I don't see that complementing each other actually.
Same. Well,
Yeah.
actually, no, I see it complementing each other, but I feel like there's also an argument of, you know, if I've never seen someone who they increase their beltless squat, let's say from 100 to 140, and their belted squat is gonna go up from 120 to, I don't know, just 150. This is all example, like these aren't legit numbers or
Yeah.
any research or anything, but it goes the same way for belted lifts. If you're gonna increase your belted squat from 150 to 160,
Mm-hmm.
whose beltless lift is just gonna stay the same? Because
Yeah,
either
true.
way, you're strengthening that chain,
Yes.
and you're strengthening your core to the point where you can handle more weight.
Exactly. yeah.
Anyways, so I think beltless training can be utilized, but I do think it's overrated, and I do think there's an argument of why you wouldn't do any training beltless.
Yeah, I'd
of course,
rather-
unless accessories or anything. Like
I'd rather do more core accessories.
Haley hasn't programmed any core stuff for me.
I
I
have
think.
I just did ab rollers. It hurts.
Yes. So yeah, beltless training agreed overrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now let's get on to the final topic, which is also another recommendation. Why are people leaving powerlifting in this country?
From my point of view, it's just people grow up. People grow up.
Life gets in the way.
Life gets in the way, and you can see back then when Bustatics was alive, the powerlifting scene was different. The people there, they got married, they had kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, you grow up and you have like so much responsibility with you. How can you afford to tax your CNS 4 times a week? Because you have to, like layan your wife and your kids.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So like, but I feel like someone like Ajos gets it done very well
Yeah,
in terms
true.
of he got his home gym in, and he's I think the strongest that he's ever been.
Yes.
So it takes a lot of willpower, and I know Ajos is someone who does have that willpower to be able to take care of a family,
Yeah.
have a full-time job and also train at the same time.
Definitely, because in my opinion, like this is what I want to do. Like I'll probably transition out of powerlifting once I get married, having a stable life as a job and all that, into something more, into something more like
CrossFit?
No, not CrossFit. Maybe. Leisurely, I guess. Keeping fit, making sure I can play around the kids until they're 20.
Damn,
Yeah.
bro. You're like, what, 22 and already think about this?
Yeah, Yeah.
God damn. Yeah, I mean, like, I would say the same thing. Most of it is like, I see a lot of people leaving once they get jobs, because I realize that the main group of powerlifters in Brunei, they're usually in university or just got out of uni and they haven't got a job yet. So I feel like they have so much free time to kind of spend on getting stronger. And once they get into that whole married life, they get a job, they have kids,
Yeah.
it kind of just falls out of priority,
And you're kind of satisfied with the amount of strength you got from powerlifting, so you could use that strength into other things,
Yeah, but like, I feel like a lot of the guys that go offshore,
Uh-huh.
they still train, but they can't train to full capacity, and that's why they can't, maximize their gains anymore.
Like this.
Like, I mean, I wouldn't know about Ziz because I haven't talked to the
Yeah, I
guy in
haven't
so
seen him
long.
in a while.
But I know for a fact my cousin Adi, the man who got me into powerlifting in the first place, when he started working offshore, that's when his training kind of went downhill, because he spends like a month to 3 months offshore, and he can't train when he's on a fucking ship. But he does have a home gym now.
Yeah, but now he has a baby, so
Yeah, now he has a baby, so I know he's training at like 6 a.m. and stuff like that. So he can only train when he's on shore, and I feel like when he's on shore, he's not on shore for a long time either. It's like
2 weeks.
2 weeks,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what gets in the way. And I know he wanted to compete, but things happen, life gets in the way. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. That's all we have to cover this time around. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Amir for joining me this episode.
Don't know why. I'm not that strong anyways.
I mean, to be fair, like, we're pretty close, and we've been talking about this since early during the lockdown period when I first started out.
Yeah.
And so I thought, might as well. We've already discussed it, and, it's finally happened. But yeah, thank you so much for being on here, and thank you guys for watching again. If you liked this kind of discussion, Don't forget to like the video, share it, and maybe subscribe. Hand signs and stuff. But yeah, we'll see you guys next time out.
You can take my soul, but you can't take my fight. My fight full of